I bow to all the seekers of truth. In this special time that we call as Ghor Kali, the worst time, when we have problems of all kinds that surround us. Of course, we have physical problems, we have mental problems, emotional problems, and also economic, political, and social problems. We are surrounded by so many problems, and such a permutation and combination of these problems, we really get confused, and the essence of Kali Yuga is Bhranti, is confusion. At this juncture, one has to understand there must be some solution. And there are many who are seeking the solution for all kinds of these problems that surround us. First, if we turn to science, we find that science is amoral. It doesn't give you any sense of morality. And also is quite limited. Then we have to turn to religion. There also we find lots of problems going on as far as religion is concerned. People are fighting in the name of God and doing all kinds of things. That is also something absurd. So then what to do? Where to find a solution for our problems? Science cannot answer many questions, but the most important is that why are we on this earth? What is the purpose of our life? This cannot be answered by science. For that then we turn to something which is very deep, which our inner spirit, about which so many saints have talked. Especially in this Maharashtra, as you know, is a place where so many saints were born. And such great saints that they were appreciated all over the world. There was one called Namadeva who was just a tailor. And he went down to Punjab where Guru Nanak saw him. And he could immediately see what he was like. So he asked him to stay in Punjab and asked him to study Punjabi language. And he has written such a big book in Punjabi language about what I am going to tell you today. As Kabira has also described it. They all have described about a power that is within you, which is to be awakened. And this power is called as Kundalini. Kundal means, you can say the coils. And the energy that is described, Kundalini, is in the sacrum bone. Now that means the Greeks knew it's a sacred bone because they call it sacred. Now they all have talked about this, that you have to seek yourself, don't have to seek outside, don't indulge into karma kanda, and don't just get lost with all these outward things like giving up something or going into penance. But it is something within which you have to find out. And what is that? You have to find out. They have described it by different words. But the simple thing one has to understand, what they have said, that all around us is a power which is called, you can call it Ru, you can call it Alakh Niranjan, you can call it as Param Chaitanya, you can call it the all-pervading power of divine love, you can call it also the cool breeze of the Holy Ghost as in the Bible, but actually it is the power of love of God. Now many people don't even believe in God, but whether you believe it or not, you have to keep your mind open like scientists. Because if you are already in preconceived ideas, then it cannot be explained. But if I am telling you something as a hypothesis, take it as a hypothesis, and if it is proved, then it's better that we should accept it, because I am talking about the power that you have your own. And this power is to be awakened, because then you will know what you are. So far, we have not known what we are. Now the subject has given me a little limited, that how it helps our health. The awakening of this power, which is residing in our sacrum bone for 3.5 quarts. Now, what I am telling you today is not something that I have discovered today. It has been there with us. This power has been with you since long. Since you were born long time back, I should say that it is your mother which is within you, which is anxious to give you your second birth, which is described in all the scriptures that you have to have your second birth. Now this power, how it can help you in a physical improvement is the subject what Bari Narak has asked you to talk. But it is not, it's very limited. But in any case, I would like to tell you what are we made of. First of all, we must know about ourselves. Now you should not take me for granted or believe into me blindfold. We have had lots of problems blindfold. But if it proves, then you have to accept it, because it is for your well. It's for your well-being, for the well-being of your family, it's the well-being of your city, well-being of your country and the whole world at large. It's something so great, and this is the last breakthrough of your evolution. You are a human being, alright, but this human awareness is not absolute. It doesn't give you absolute truth. One person thinks this is the truth, another person thinks that is the truth. But by this happening, you really can feel this all-pervading power on your fingertips. You can easily feel it on your hands. And you can also feel the cool breeze coming out of your own fontanelle bone area, which is called as Brahmarandra in the Sanskrit language. All these things happen, no doubt, and it works out very well. For example, Bali now was telling you about his sickness and illness. It's not very difficult to cure this simple trouble of anxiety. It's not difficult. Because if you know about the centers, what center has gone wrong, where it has gone wrong, what is being used too much, and how do you get this trouble. Now, you'll be amazed if I tell you angina is caused by a center here, we call it as left. This center catches when you feel guilty. It's a passion to be guilty. It's a very big passion to be guilty. You know, even small thing, like if you spill some coffee, you feel very guilty. Because the norms of the modern life are so tight that you do anything wrong, you start feeling guilty. That affects this center, and that's how you get your attack. So I've decided today, because the time is very short, to tell you about what you people as you are, I have seen you as you are, what diseases can trouble and what is the reason. That much portion I have today deal with.
Mataji, time has been extended up to 8 o'clock. Time has been extended up to 8 o'clock by the president.
अच्छा, तो पहले मैंने सोचा था कि एक चक्कर की बात बताओ. Now I can see the people who are here, the kind of life they have, and I would like to tell you what you can face in life. At least I can tell you very clearly. The first is that there is a center which we call as Swadhisthana Chakra, which is the second center. And this,
Yes, it is there.
this center is very important for you. Because you are all busy people, you are futuristic, you have plans, you want to do this, you want to do that. Yes, I understand. Have to be that. What can I say? Now, this center, there are 6 centers above this small, lowest one. The 6 centers are the ones which are awakened by this Kundalini. Now, the second center I am dealing with because I find that you people are all susceptible to the attack of this center. Now, this center comes, I don't know how many doctors there are, but there are 2 sympathetic nervous system, left and right, and when they join together like this, you see, you form one of the centers. So now this center is with the left and the right sympathetic nervous system and made into what you can call the Swadhisthana. Now, this center, which medical science doesn't know, is very important for people like you because you are futuristic. You are using your brain power too much. All the time this energy is going out. You are thinking, planning. Now what happens that this is the center that supplies energy for your gray cells. Doctors do not know that who supplies the energy from the gray cells. This is done by this particular center. Now the second part is that this is the same center which is on the physical side we know and the medical science as the aortic plexus. It supplies energy to liver, it supplies energy to your pancreas, to your spleen, to your intestines, to your kidneys. All these organs in the viscera are looked after by this one center we call as Swadhisthana. So, when you are using too much of your gray cells, all the energy from this center goes to your kidney. So the first thing that goes wrong is that other important organs which require the attention of the center suffer. The first one that suffers is your liver. And the liver suffers in such a manner that the heat of the body, which comes as the poison, is to be circulated through the circulation of blood system. It cannot do it because it is so big, it cannot do it. So the heat starts accumulating. When this heat starts accumulating, what happens? It starts moving upward. We have now one center that we call as the heart center. This is for our immune system. To this is on the right side and left side we have 2 right and left centers. For the one is for the lungs, right side, and the left side is for the heart. So this center gets affected by the heat and people develop asthma. As simple as that. Asthma is a very common disease. People develop who think too much, who plan too much, who work too hard, and are all the time using their mental capacity. Now, the second thing that it happens is that your pancreas will neglect. And as a result, what you develop is diabetes. If you go in Maharashtra villages, I have seen when they offer you sugar in the tea, they first see that the spoon must stand at right angle when you put the sugar, otherwise they think this is no tea, it's a joke. So much sugar they take and they never get diabetes because whatever they earn today is finished by the evening, they sleep on. Next day they earn, sleep on. They don't have insurance problem, tax problem, this problem, all these modern problems they don't have. So they are happy people, they don't develop any diabetes or anything. But while we people who are sedentary habits are sitting down planning, that time we have diabetes. And this diabetes develops, it's so common. I mean, now we are taken for granted, diabetes. If it is there, it's there. After all, diabetes everybody has. We never take it seriously that there's something specially wrong about this diabetes, which can result into lots of problems. So this diabetes is caused only because we are futuristic and we think too much. Now another imbalance comes is the burst in the spleen. Now see, our modern life is so hectic. If you can witness it, you can see now, say for example, early in the morning, people get. In America it's much worse, of course. Get up, they have no time to have a bath and then to even brush their teeth. In America they brush their teeth in the car. It's a special arrangement for brushing their teeth in the car. Because they haven't got that much time at home, even to do that. So some or other they'll put on their jeans and all that, rush into the cars and drive as fast as possible. While doing that, they are all the time thinking, now I'm late, then they see the jam on the road. Then they are even more upset. When they go to the office, the boss is shouting at them, even worse. But the worst is early in the morning you read newspaper. And you get such a shock, I tell you. They always put shocking things, they won't put something good, isn't it? So something shocking has to be there to shock your mind. You need it by this, what is this going on in this country, what is going on in other countries, and they will always put something horrifying on the front page, you see. Now with that we get so upset, and that upsetting causes problem for our spleen because our spleen is a speedometer and it emits RBCs, it scales RBCs, means red blood corpuscles, whenever there is an emergency. Now we are always in emergency. It's such a hectic life. We don't even take our breakfast. We rush. We sometimes have breakfast in the car, and or if we are moving on some sort of a motorbike, we might have even there. Formerly, it used to be in India, especially the husband used to sit down, and the wife used to fan him. Used to have his food, and that is how the speed of the person was kept. These days people are so speedy, even the dramas and pictures and the films are so speedy that you don't know where you are. Just, bumps on your nervous system also. So all this makes you very hectic. And this poor spleen doesn't know how to carry on with this hectic, crazy person. So it starts producing RBCs now, then RBCs. And then what develops is blood cancer. Sahaja has cured many patients of blood cancer were declared to be dead within 1 month's time. They are still existing. For the last 9 to 10 years, they are still there, perfectly all right. Now this is another problem that causes problem because we do not know how to relax. And there's no question because you are so busy and so important is your this speedy life that you can't handle. So when you start looking at it, that I try to be very, very relaxed. I'm relaxed. You don't get relaxed. Something has to happen to relax. Then another very important thing is your kidneys. Your kidneys also with the seed get coagulated. When they get coagulated, you cannot pass your urine. So you go on to dialysis. You go on to dialysis and you get bankrupt and then you die. Nobody has been cured by dialysis, in fact. I had a very specialist in Delhi who has got this dialysis system in his, you can call it a hospital, which is a shop, I should say. When people go there and pay for dialysis, pay money for dialysis, and nobody is cured. But he got this kidney trouble. He came to me. I said, doctor, I am cured on one promise that you will not take people on dialysis. He said, all right, I will not. But when I treated him, he got all right. You'll be amazed, he again started doing it. So I told him, why are you doing now? You have promised me. He said, mother, you see, I have spent so much money buying these machines. So how can I now stop it, It's all about my husband. I didn't know what to say. After all, your mother, how far she can go. See, but he was cured. He's completely cured. Then another thing that happens to you is your intestines have movements, peristaltic movements. They just stop. In the sense you get very rigid and you develop terrible constipation. People have such horrible constipations that they are all the time in the bathroom, trying to fight today, trying to get it. But it can be even more serious because constipation means gases, from gases all of the problems come. It doesn't stop at that point. This heat can travel upward as I told you. And if suppose there's a young boy of say 21 to 25 years of age who is drinking too much and also playing tennis and is working very hard or something, he might get a heart attack which will be just faint. Just faint. He cannot survive because, you see, this heat will reach the heart and just he'll have a massive heart attack. That's not the end of it yet. Then what happens, this heat can go into the brain of the person on this side, on the left side. And when it passes on to the left side, the brain gets attacked and you get balance. Now another disease has come. In America they call it the Peace disease. In that a very hard-working person works very hard, always with a briefcase, you see, running for the work and all that, trying to improve his work, because perhaps the IQ he thinks is very great, whatever it is. He develops a disease called Peace disease in the, ordinary terms. Now this disease, what happens? That a person has no control over the conscious mind. Unconsciously may lift his hand, unconsciously may even walk, but if you ask him to, he cannot. He becomes like a reptile. You have to carry him like a big fish and place somewhere. He thinks all right, he talks all right, everything is there, the brain is all right, but the body has become just like a reptile. This is another disease which is ahead of such people who are extremely busy running after things and not paying attention to their balance. So now what happens with Kundalini? When she rises, what she does, she nourishes the center. She nourishes all the centers because that's the vital power which is doing all the living work. And that power nourishes it. But when it comes out of this Brahmarandra, then it becomes one with this all-pervading power, which is the real yoga. That is the real union. Not other yoga standing on your heads and breaking your bones. That's nothing. The yoga, real spiritual yoga, is when you become one with this all-pervading power. Once you are one with that all-pervading power, it starts going into your body. It works through your body. You can feel it on your fingertips, this power. This is your own. There's no obligation. You can't pay for it. Nothing. It's your own. Just like a seed, you can put it in the Mother Earth. It sprouts. It happens like that. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to take a sannyasa. You don't have to give up anything. Nothing outside. It's all within you is there. And I'm seeing with India especially, it's very easy to research. Very easy. With the Westerners, you see, you have worked quite hard. But now they are also alright. But with Indians, they are there's something special about them that they get their realization in no time. Then, you see, what happens when she nourishes the center? It has that power, additional power, and all the time that flower flows, and he develops a balance. Now, another thing that happens very important is that we are all the time thinking. Now, one thought rises, falls off, another thought rises, falls off, and we are all the time jumping on the cusp of these thoughts, which come to us either from the past and from the future. But we are never in the present. If I say, you be in present, you can't. Present is the reality, not the past because finished, and not the future because it doesn't exist. So past and future thoughts are actually false. So to be in the present, what has to happen is when this Kundalini rises, these thoughts she elongates. By that there is a space, in Sanskrit called Vilam, the pause in between, and then your attention stops at this pause. And you become absolutely thoughtless. But absolutely aware. You are absolutely aware and you are thoughtless, which is Sanskrit called as Nirvichara Samadhi. You can watch everything, you are a witness to everything, you are extremely peaceful. I will give you an example how it is. Supposing you are standing in the water, in a very turbulent sea, supposing. You are afraid of the waves that are coming. But somehow by chance you get into a boat, you can see those waves and you can enjoy it. But supposing you learn how to swim, you can jump and save many others who are frightened of the waves. In the same way it happens inside, that you become so peaceful, so very peaceful within, that you see the whole thing like a drama, like a witness, and you are not bothered. But your attention, your own concern works, because now your attention is enlightened because of the Kundalini, the spirit in your heart is deepened. Just like, you see, there was oil and there was also weight, which I had to just put the candle near it and it started working. In the same way, our spirit gets enlightened. And the light of the spirit, when it comes into your attention, this enlightened spirit becomes extremely powerful because it has, like an ether, it works around in that power, as I told you. So, you pay attention to anyone. If you pay attention to anyone, that person can get completely cured, you can know about that person, what's happening. You won't believe the amount of miracles I have seen inside. Because this all-pervading power is now in a new mood, we call it Kriti, where it is wanting to do something. It is active before it was not so active. The other day, you'll be amazed, there was a Mexican lady, and she had a son who was suffering from some disease which their family gets very often. That disease they used to get when they were very old and they died. But this fellow was a young fellow studying in Harvard University, he got it. He was very young, he was about 21 years of age. So she wrote to me that, "Mother, what should I do? Should I bring him down to Pune, or how am I going to work it out?" She was herself a very great surgeon. And you'll be amazed, 3 letters she sent me requesting me what should she do. And the 4th letter came, she said, "I took him to the hospital and they said the disease has disappeared, they don't know." This I'm just telling you one of the things that can happen. Because of the attention. Attention becomes so active that it can cure so many diseases even without touching that person or even helping. The patient himself, you see, need not be very sort of faith. You need not have all the faith and everything. But the Kundalini works because she's your mother and she's anxious to give you a second. She works it out. But after getting that, after achieving that, then you have to understand that it's the blessing of the divine and you have to really get dissolved into that divinity. The life becomes very different. I might be the oldest woman here because now I'm 73 years of age. But you know, the amount of traveling I do, the amount of things I do, I don't feel it. Because, as I told you, I just become the witness. I never think I'm traveling, I don't think I'm doing anything of the kind. And that's how you keep perfectly alright, not only physically, but also mentally. Now, Sahaja definitely has cured so many people all over the world that I really don't know how many there are, because I never keep counts and things. And not only, but I am thankful to Pari for one thing. He brought some very good people to Sahaja Yoga, though I cured them, but they became very great exponent of Sahaja Yoga. They have done so much for Sahaja Yoga. They have helped so many people all over the world. It was very creditable for him to bring all such people to me. Of course, first I used to tell him that all the sick people are coming here, now I'm going to send it to you, saying that go to Bari Mehrotra Maharaj, it's so hard, so that you better cure them and not me. So, but I must say it's very creditable for him that he brought really wonderful people who were very deep and who had a great sense of responsibility that now we have got it, let us give it to others. Now you can't pay for it. It's a giving process of your evolution. You can't pay for it. One thing we must understand, you can't pay. You can't purchase your guru. If you can purchase them, he's not your guru. He's a people whom you have retained. Very simple thing is this, that by this awakening you get so many things. Firstly, I have known people, now you must have heard about Amjad Ali. Amjad Ali was not such a great player once upon a time. And he had come to London and wanted me to listen to him. By chance I was late for his program. And he was just playing something, everybody was bored. But as soon as he saw me on the doorstep, he had never seen me before. Immediately said, I don't know what happened to me, mother. This Kundalini rose. He doesn't know. And he started playing. And a rag called Marwa, which is a very difficult rag. My husband doesn't like that rag. But he played so well as if the whole big beauty of Marwa was created. And he said, I didn't know how I played Marwa. And today he is such a great musician. There are many musicians like that, Safat Hussain Khan, so many of them, they are Muslims. But they are Sahajogis and they are playing so well because their Kundalini rose. I didn't do anything. Now, this power is your own and is lying dormant. Only thing it is to be awakened. But it awakens in no time. Like Shivaji's guru was Shri. And somebody asked him how much time it will take for a Kundalini to rise. So he used the Sanskrit word takshan in that moment. But there should be a giver as well as a taker. You cannot force it on. You cannot. You have to have a Shuddha Ichha. So pure desire to get to it. Then it works out. Now, of course, with sickness, people just have a desire that they should be cured. Doesn't matter. But if you are cured, then you are duty bound to see that others are also cured. For diagnosis, you don't have to do all kinds of things, Like Ramakrishna Bajaj told me, he had to go for a diagnosis to America. He said, I was half dead with the diagnosis only. And half of was left, and I wanted to run away from it. Now, the main thing is that unless and until you desire, it won't work. You have to desire that I want my self-realization. Not the giver, but the self-realization. Because the totality you should know. It's not one part that you get cured of one disease and another disease. You should get completely cured in the mental, physical, emotional thing. Some people go to wrong gurus, they do all kinds of wrong things, and they are suffering with that also. That also should be correct. Because this is the power which goes through all these 6 centers, integrates them, so that you become absolutely integrated. Means there's no fight between your mind, or you can say, English language mind is funny, but I'm saying that between your thoughts and your liver, or say your heart. There's no fight. It's all integrated. And you lead a very integrated life. You really become an idealist in a way, and you enjoy your virtues. I have seen people in England who came to me, gave up their drugs overnight. I was surprised, overnight. You tell somebody to give up even drinking they can't, but they gave up their drugs overnight just by the awakening of this Murali. Because you become samarth. Samarth means whatever is your meaning, you become that is the spirit, and by that Atma, you feel that your enlightened life is going to guide you. You don't need any guru, anybody. Your own light guides you. What is good and what is bad. All these powers are within you, which are there and which must be awakened, and you must take full advantage of this power. See, it's not my discovery, I should say, in a way, because all people have talked about it. Thousands of years back, Markandeya talked about it, Adi Shankara talked about it. Then came all other, on the 12th century, you see, Ganeshwar talked about it very much. Then came 16th century, all these great saints talked about it. And in Punjab, Mutana Sahab, Guru Gobind Sahab, all of them have talked about Kundalini, Kabir, and other poets have talked about it, all of them. Now, you see, not only that, but also we have some people like William Blake, who has talked about this kind of a resurrection. And also in the Quran it is written, unless and until you know yourself, you will not know God. Clear? Quran also, though it was not written by Muhammad Sahib, there are many still there, that one of them is this, that you have to know yourself, otherwise you cannot know God. There are so many things said in the Quran which are absolutely Sahaj. And he has called Kundalini as Asas. Only the words are different. But he called it as Asas. And he said you have to be a wali, means you have to be a realized soul. He said the same thing that anybody has told, like Christ has said, you are to be born again. And he has said that you have to come and knock at the door. Nobody is going to open your door. So whether Shri Ganesha is correct or not, whether Muhammad Sahib is correct or not, whether Christ is correct or not, you can know inside that they are the flowers of spirituality born at different times, and they were representing nothing but pure spirituality at that different time, and they were all related to each other. And we are the only people who have taken away these flowers, who are dead, and we are fighting. So, once you see this, you'll be surprised how the peace will reign, because all these problems of different ideologies, this, that, will all subside. It is the peace that you feel, the highest thing you feel, the peace within. Now I know many people who have got wars, got peace, very hot-tempered, very extremely hot-tempered. If you have to face them, better take a barge food, and you can't just talk to them otherwise. So I don't know how they got peace, from which angle they got peace awards. But they have peace awards. So now what one has to know is that the peace is within. If you are not peaceful within, how can you talk about peace? And how can you give peace to others? But such a person gives peace. Every peace. Because there is love. And love and truth is the same. Now suppose if you love somebody, then you know each and everything about that person. In the same way, this truth that I am talking about, which you have to have, the absolute truth is absolute love. And this love is not like an attachment. So, you see, like you are attached only to your daughter, to your son, or to your father or something. It is like the sap in the tree, which rises. Goes to different parts of the tree, gives the sap to all the parts, whatever is needed, see, and then it evaporates or it goes back to the mother. It doesn't get attached. Supposing this sap gets attached to one flower, then what will happen to the whole tree? It will die and the flower will also die. So you become detached in the sense that you become really a person who has nothing but love. And the love you give to everyone, and you enjoy it. You really enjoy loving others, not in a way that you are attached to anyone or you support anyone. But you develop the greatest quality of wisdom and you understand what is good for another person and what is not good for another person. Normally you may not speak about it, but you can somehow show by the law of polarity, as they call it, law of polarity, that this was something wrong you have been doing. And the person realizes. You see, it's a very sweet way of bringing round many people. Now, you see, there have been many saints, there have been very great people in this country. But somehow people never liked them. And so many were tortured and troubled. And we also just read their lives and we try to understand their biographies and all that. But nothing goes inside. Like you ask somebody, हम इसको मानते हैं, उसको मानते हैं, I have great faith in this person, that way. But what has come in you from that person, it goes. After realization only you will be surprised, you become so virtuous and you appreciate it. Not only that you appreciate, but others also enjoy that you are so virtuous, you are so good. And you see, the whole life becomes so sweet and so beautiful. Now as it is, research yoga is spread into so many countries. I know we have 65 which I have visited, but they say more than 100 countries it has spread. It's just like one candle which is enlightened can enlighten me. In the same way it spreads, and it's spreading very fast. Especially in Russia also. Russia is something really very surprising place, where at least 65% people are extremely open-hearted. Scientists, doctors, they had arranged a program with some scientists, about 300 scientists. So I thought I better start with the science, otherwise it won't go into there. Immediately one fellow starts to know. Mother, we don't want to know about science, we know all about it. You tell us about the science of God. I was amazed. And there are so many scientists who are searching. There are so many people who are searching. There I cannot have a program in a small place. We have to have in a stadium. Still half of the people are waiting outside. It's a place where, I don't know how, because it was such a clean slate, they had no samskaras of any kind. The thing has worked so well. And they are so beautiful. When they had this coup, I was there, I said, aren't you worried about your political problem? I said, what political problem? We are in the kingdom of God, we have no problems. Just imagine.